It's fine, it's fine, it's fine. They'll lock me in a goddamn therapy box as I repeat that over and over. They ask me, where did it all go wrong for you, Jeff? When was the moment in time that you freaking snapped?
I lost my goddamn freaking mind at the Clyde fight. Holy smackaroos, this fight probably made me angrier than anything I've played in a long time. Or at least in 2 months, I don't know, it's been a painful summer. The Clyde fight, wait, they named the wrong ghost Clyde. Well, that's 2 games that messed this up. I'm gonna guess it started here as a translation error or like a colorblind screw up, and then in Pac-Man World 3 they just kept it to be consistent. But no, I looked it up further, and apparently this is a recurring issue throughout the whole franchise. Maybe they can't make up their mind. I guess on paper it doesn't matter that much. I don't know, maybe Namco executives roll a dice every day. Oh, it rolled a 3. Today is Clyde Day, everyone. Anyways, this boss is probably the most difficult part of the entire game. Clyde fires so many projectiles at you, you just never stand a chance. This happens during Pinky as well, but it's a bit slower and a bit easier to predict. Clyde shoots these like snowballs so quickly, and there's no clear pattern on where his projectiles are going to go. But to make matters worse, there's little fires that spawn on the floor that you have to dodge as well. Honestly, my brain doesn't even register these half of the time because they don't look significant. Sometimes these will even spawn on the ramps that you need to jump off of, so you either have to take a hit or miss a whole cycle. Okay, having to rev roll between platforms is really frustrating because often you can overshoot and undershoot it and lose a life. I had a problem with both Clyde and Pinky where they want you to rev roll into them to do a damage, but when there's a bottomless pit under you, sometimes you bounce off of them and die. It's really jank and honestly just not fair. In the last phase of this fight, I don't know what happened, but his hitbox just entirely changed. Before, if you bounced on him, you would do a little damage with just 1 bounce. I don't know if they changed this to be random at the end or I was just hitting the wrong part, but in the last phase, sometimes this guy would just not take damage no matter how many butt bounces I did, and this is very problematic because if you do bounce off of him, you want to be able to know it instantly. That way, you can pivot back to land. But when it's random and it takes however many hits it feels like, guess what? You're not prepared when it actually happens, and uh-oh, you're dead. Yup, that was fair. Luckily, with boss fights at least, there are checkpoints. So when you do 2 hits, when you die the next time, the damage will still be saved. So my advice is to go to Blade Mountain or wherever and go grind some lives. And theoretically, you should be able to beat the boss no matter what, as long as you have the free time. But it doesn't change the fact that these bosses are still so time consuming. Like, the Clyde boss took me an hour, at least. But even if it wasn't for the deaths, this would still be like a 5-minute plus long boss. There's so much waiting around and praying, and it just doesn't work, man. I'm sorry. Bosses in video games should not be something you dread doing. I think challenge itself is fine, but the challenge, at least with Clyde, is ridiculous. I'm sorry, it just is. If it wasn't for the glitches, I would not be talking about it to this length, but the fact that there's so many jank things that can happen on top of being pelted with 1,000,000 projectiles at once, it's a low point in the game for me, and was honestly really miserable.